Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 75. Tonight we're going to analyse the Villa match and the players, take a look at O'Neill's first 8 games in charge, league games, take your questions and look ahead to Bournemouth. Of course, I'm joined by my 2 loyal midfield generals in the form of club captain, fence sitter Mark Knock and our director of football, the brains of the show, Chris Tyler. Before we move into the football, I just wanted to shout out about something I'd seen today that was very powerful. It's not often we talk about other football clubs and credit them, but Norwich City put out a social media tweet today regarding World Mental Health Day. And it was really, really powerful. For anyone that's not seen it, I would highly recommend going onto their socials. It's got nearly 20 million views now if you've not seen it already. And it just reads out, at times it can be obvious where someone is struggling to cope, but sometimes the signs are harder to spot. Check in on those around you. It's a fantastic message and it's a great message. So I would highly recommend anyone to have a look at that. Moving on with the show, we faced our friendly neighbours that aren't really bothered about us down the road, Knocky, where it finished Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Aston Villa 1. Mark Knock, your take on the game.
First 10 minutes I was a little bit twitchy because they came at us, put us under a lot of pressure. I think their game plan was to try and score early and sort of bring us out a little bit. But after that, we weathered that relatively well, and then we grew into the game. And I think the setup was right. I think the team selection was right. You couldn't really change it after the Man City game. We created opportunities. I mean, they've probably had more than us over the course of the game, but you know, you take into account their league position and our league position, it's not really unsurprising at the moment. They're full of confidence. They've hit 6 in the last game. But some real positives for us. I think another fantastic defensive performance, especially from Dawson, who's, you know, pocketed his second top striker in a week in pocketing Watkins. And I thought Toti played well. I thought midfield, Lemina in particular, was absolutely excellent. Obviously, he's got himself sent off stupidly, but he was still a wonderful performance up till then. And everyone performed. I can't pick out any negatives from the players on the pitch, in all honesty, from the starting 11 anyway. I thought they all worked really hard. We scored a really good goal. Neto, he's made that run 5 or 6 times in the last few games, and he always seems to get there. And Johnny on the spot, Hwang's popped in again, hasn't he? I mean, the Korean guy's banging him in at the moment. It's incredible how he's turned around. So it was. I'm really pleased with the point. I think you look at the games we've had, Man City, Villa. I think we all would have taken a couple of points, maybe 1 win out of those games. So to get 4 out of that, I think you've got to be absolutely delighted. And I've criticised O'Neill, as you know, but I think he got it right again. I think his substitutions were right. I think they made an impact. Boubacar in particular, I thought he was really good when he came on. And it was just a well-organised, well-drilled performance. And he's mugged Emery off at the end as well. So he's definitely winning me around. But yeah, all in all, I'm really pleased with the point. And I think the lads put a lot into that. And it's a very good result.
4 points from those 2 home games after the Luton Ipswich game. It's a certainly different feel on this podcast and across the fan base, really. Tyler, we spoke off air and you said something really interesting to me that I was thinking about in terms of you're happy because you can see who Wolves are now. So those last few games have got an identity again. So Gary O'Neill looks like he's found a plan and it's working.
Yeah, I was having a few debates on Twitter with a few people, like obviously asking what expectations were so early, but it was that, Ryan. It was just to see, not necessarily a plan, but at least an idea of a plan and what we were trying to do. And the last 2 games have been crystal clear. I think O'Neill talked about it, to be fair, where maybe he's tried to implement the plan and the players maybe haven't got it or the message didn't get across. But on with Knocky, I was delighted again. With the point, it sounds a bit small time, but I don't mean it to, but it just keeps the momentum, the international break. It just 4 points from 6. Villa are flying, let's be honest. They have been flying. And it just keeps that bit of momentum going, doesn't it? But there's a clear plan now. You know, there's a 3-4-3. We don't give the opposition much space. We break at such a pace. The front 3 are busy. The 2 midfield are industrious. The wing backs offer a bit of quality. You can just see what we're trying to do now. And like I said to you, I'm more than comfortable now in that approach. I think he probably stumbled across his best team for the Man City game because he probably had to revert to type. But as we talked about, you know, last week, I think it just suits us so well. You know, I've criticised Toti, the midfield too. but it just works for them, doesn't it? He was excellent again. Those two, as I said, were industrious. They gave nothing away against a good, experienced Villa midfield. And yeah, I can see what we're trying to do now in games. And like I said, even the substitutions, bar Fabio, but I can't give him too much stick because Mario got sent off straight away, didn't he? So good options in the squad as well, So it is starting to look like it's coming together.
Yeah, the picture looks completely different, Nocky. As Tyler said, we look like we've got an identity. There seems to be a shape. We know what we're doing. We're breaking fast. It was very much a horses for courses manager. He's stuck with the same team. He's got 4 points in 2 games. Going forward now, just moving away from performance briefly, is this Wolves now, or would you see him deviating in the future?
I think it's us for now. I think while it's working, I think he'll stick with it because it's giving us, as Chris said, an identity. It's giving us a system, and it doesn't have to be a negative formation. And we spoke about that before. It can be a very attacking formation, especially if you've got the pace that we've got in those attacking areas. And it's very similar to Nuno. It's a system that we played. We know it works. We know your wing backs can affect games, and we know you've got that pace at front. Okay, it used to be Jota and Adama, and now it's Hwang and Neto, but we've got that impact now. So those 3, well, those 2 attackers definitely have to be in, and then you're probably going to play Cunha as well because he is affecting games. So you need a system that gets all 3 of them in. You need a system that gets your wing backs in because you know they're going to play, and you've got Lemina and Gomes offering that layer of protection. So it's going to be interesting how we react against teams who maybe sit a little bit deeper when we do come up with the Bournemouths, and can we break them down? But at the same time, we're going to be a team that identify as an opportunity to get points, and maybe they're going to be a little bit more ambitious. So for me, I think we stick with it. I think we go with it now. I don't think Dawson and Kilman are as comfortable in a 2 as they are in a 3. I think that extra layer of protection brings a little bit more out of them. So if you're doing something that's working, and it's 3 games unbeaten, it might only be 1 win in those 3 games, but it's 3 games unbeaten. We're 4 points clear of the drop zone. We've gone into the international break off the back of playing 2 teams who are both in Europe. One of them's the best team in the world at the moment, and we've come out with positive results. So, yeah, I think you stick. I don't see any rationale now to change it. If you change it and it goes pear-shaped, there's going to be major questions asked, isn't there? So for me, just stick with it.
Absolutely. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Tyler, moving back to the game, the 2 men at the moment combining for the goal. Neto's found his belief and his afterburners, and Hwang Hee-chan cannot stop scoring. Talk us through that goal.
It's like Shearer and Sutton of the 90s, isn't it? They're like a deadly duo. And it was a great goal, wasn't it? I think Hwang won it deep, if I remember. So he won the ball back in our edge of our own box. And then, 10, 15 seconds later, you've scored. But it was nice that they were all involved in it. I think Hwang won it, played it into Cunha. Cunha turned, played it to Neto. I mean, Neto, like Knocker said, he's been doing that every week, hasn't he? And defenders haven't really got a clue what to do, have they? There's no way you can stop it. It's just raw pace. And if they commit early, he'll beat them. If they drop off like Torres did, he'll still beat you and cross it. So you can't defend against it, really. And then, man of the moment, he just pops up, doesn't he, with the goal. And, I mean, no one probably saw that coming. I think Nocky mentioned it was, Jimenez and Jota, or Jimenez and Traore. You could sort of see that one working, but I don't think many predicted Neto and Wang to have the partnership they've got. But long may it continue. We've just got to hope it does. But I think I saw a stat today. I think across Europe, they're right up there stats-wise with goals and assists in the top league. So we haven't had that for a few seasons, have we? So let's enjoy it while we can.
Absolutely. Making partnerships in football are absolutely key. And it's one at the start of the season. I don't think anyone would have predicted. We were concerned about Neto, but that appears now to have been a confidence issue, not an ability issue. He looks as strong, as quick as ever. And in fairness to Wang, for all his criticism, we've always said his movement in the box has always been good. He's always been able to pick up a position. It's just what he's done with the rest of the game that's frustrating us. If you put Hwang Hee-chan in and about 6-12 yards out, he finds himself in them positions, and you can't coach that. You've either got that ability or you haven't. So if you get him in those positions, you're going to get the best out of him. And I'm happy to eat humble pies. I'm sure you two are as well. So long may it continue. Nocky, the biggest frustration of the day was probably celebrating that goal. And by the time the heartbeats have gone below 100 again, Villa have equalised. So a disappointing switch off for me in the equaliser.
It's the old adage, isn't it? You're most vulnerable after you scored that goal, and we absolutely switched off. We gave away a daft free kick. It's a simple ball in the box from Watkins. Okay, it's a decent clipping, but it's nothing special. He's just put it towards a far post, and we've left Torres completely unmarked. So really frustrating, because you don't know what's going to happen after you scored the goal, but you just felt that the next 5 or 10 minutes were going to be pivotal. I think if we keep him out at that point, I think we reset, we stabilise, and I think we probably win the game. But it happens, doesn't it? It was just one of those things. We've done it to teams, we've had it done to us. It's a frustration, and it was a soft goal, which was probably the most disappointing thing. We didn't make them work for it, and I think we've been guilty of that a few times this season. We haven't made teams really force opportunities on us. We've kind of just switched off for those split seconds, and this level you get punished for it. So yeah, disappointing, but the important thing is we didn't capitulate, we didn't fold, we stayed firm after that, and we made sure we protected our point. We didn't go searching for the win, although we could have won it with Neto. We were just a little bit more intelligent and read the situation a bit better than we have done in previous games.
Excellent games management. You are listening and watching episode 75 of the Wolves Report with Club Captain Mark Knock and Director of Football Chris Tyler, currently discussing Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Aston Villa's 1. As always, the show is beamed out live and then available back on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. So thank you for all your comments, which I'll put up live during the show, which you'll be able to see on videos. I get lots, so I'll put up as many as I can. Some of the good insults and maybe not some of the ones that I can put up regarding some things we probably can't talk about. Let's move on to the player ratings. Tyler, starting off with Jose Sarr.
Yeah, I liked him again. I think since I've absolutely hammered him earlier in the season,
we seem to be doing that a lot on this show.
You want to be careful what you say about players, mate. It could have to bite you.
He's come up trumps, hasn't it? Pretty much a faultless display. I think he made 2 or 3 excellent saves. The Cash one, the Watkins one, second half. They're brilliant saves. Came and caught most things again. Distribution was fine. Yeah, he's going on the upward trajectory, and hopefully we're starting to see a benefit of Cutler, who I think is very highly regarded. He's probably had a bit of time to settle down, work with him, and might be way off the mark. But does he feel a bit more comfortable with the back three? I don't know. Maybe.
Right point.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good performance. You can't fault it at all.
Jose Sarr's always seemed to me like he's a little bit edgy, like he's got something in him. He seems a lot more the last few games like he's holding the ball, he's taking a breath, he's thinking, he's looking around him, he's weighing his up, he's thinking, what's my instruction, and going from there. Now, playing in front of 30,000 people or 50,000 people away from home, huge high pressure. You know what I mean? The fans are saying get it forward quickly, but he looks more calm. And as you said, Tyler, I think Cutler. I think Jose Sarr. Problem is when a keeper makes a mistake and his distribution comes out and it comes in a goal, you're getting all the stick. It's a position where if you make a mistake and it costs, everyone's talking about it. I actually do think he looks a little bit more composed. And as you said, I thought particularly the Matt Cash save at the near post, I thought that was a fantastic stop. So yeah, credit to Jose Sarr. Moving on to the back three, Nocky. We'll start off with Craig Dawson. Got a booking early on after 14 wrestling matches in the box with John McGinn. Somehow Craig Dawson got booked for his, I think, what was his look like for me, his first proper foul.
They fire cards out for random reasons now, don't they? If you look in a strange direction, you get booked. So it's frustrating. He doesn't look like the kind of player that would mouth off. He looks pretty reserved and intelligent. So, but you don't know what goes on the pitch, do you? Performance-wise, I thought he was excellent. I thought he was really good. Really dealt with an informed Watkins who's been banging goals in for fun. He took control of him, and there was a couple of opportunities where he got away, and there was a fantastic save from Jose Sarr. But quality players at some point are going to get away from you and get that yard. But all in all, it was a really good performance. And he, as we said before, he looks far more comfortable in the 3 than he does in the 2, and he looks like it's the system he wants to play in.
Something I'd never given Craig Dawson any credit for in the past was I was not expecting Craig Dawson to have the ability to be pinging balls to the wing-backs. Now, bringing his name up in the show, because I'm sure we'll go on forever, but some of those balls are Cody-esque. He's picking it up off the keeper, and professional footballers should have a good range of delivery, but I was not expecting Craig Dawson to be hitting them balls and finding Semedo and Ait-Nouri. Absolutely fantastic. So £3.5 million. I don't think Craig Dawson ever had any pace, so I'm not sure we're particularly worried about him losing lots of pace when consecutive weeks, if you've pocketed Erling Haaland and restricted a very informed Ollie Watkins, yeah, £3.5 million, experienced, composed. Ballon Dawson, what an absolute footballer. Tyler, moving on to captain Max Kilman, another good game from one of our defenders.
Yeah, just solid, wasn't it? Sort of repeating ourselves, but again, just so much more comfortable in a 3. Bit more aggressive. Like I think I said last week, you can sort of go and attack the ball, and it's not the end of the world if you don't win it because there's people behind you. It just looks so comfortable there, and again, we've talked about it before. They just complement each other so well, don't they? He's really good at bringing the ball out. Probably didn't do it to the effect he did the week before, but I've always liked him, always rated him. And if you're talking about Craig Dawson being a bargain, God knows what you're going to say about Max Kilman's transfer fee, because Hobbs talked about it, didn't he? I think he threatened to buy him himself if Wolves didn't stump up the money. So that shows how highly regarded he was, and he's reached his potential, hasn't he? And he continues to do so.
It's a funny one with this 3. That, I mean, I know we mentioned stumbled across earlier on, but there's 3 centre backs with 3 very different skills. Obviously, Toti looks like a man marker and a stopper. Craig Dawson's incredible in the air and a stopper. Max Kilman's the footballer that can bring it out of defence. Max Kilman playing on his weak side, actually for me, looks better playing on his unnatural side, because it allows him to cut inside and use his left foot and also his distribution. So, yeah, fantastic from Max. And those defenders look comfortable in this setup so far. I mean, it may go wrong soon, but how many times, though, in these last few games, Tyler, have we seen any of these centre-backs in real trouble against Man City and Villa? Have they been in real trouble?
And I think that's why it works so well. I think there's no need to play the high line. They can sit just in front of the 18-yard box. Toti's probably comfortably the quickest. Kilman and Dawson are quick. So you're playing to your strengths, aren't you? When we had them two as a pair at centre-back, we struggled, didn't we, with that one and behind and a bit of pace. And now we don't need to worry about it. Like Knocker said, Haaland and Watkins have come to town and, barely had a sniff, really. So that should give you all the confidence in the world. And I just think it works so well. Admittedly, they then do have another wall in front of them with Gomes and Lemina, so they're probably quite lucky from that perspective. But play to your strengths, why not? And that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely. Nocky, moving on to the fridge, Toti Gomes. Last week he's bagged Phil Foden.
I'll be back in a minute.
Moving on to Toti Gomes, Nocky. Last week he's bagged Phil Foden. This week he's bagged Diaby. Toti Gomes had his opportunity a few times before. Probably not the most technically gifted of footballers. Didn't have a great game at Ipswich, but credit where it's due. He looks comfortable in a 3. He's not getting roasted, and he's been part of a team that's got 2 fantastic results on the bounce.
I think you've covered it, haven't you? When he was in Paris again, it was just a really, really good performance. Diaby, all right, he might not have been 100% fit, but he's a player that's been causing real trouble this season. He's been hurting teams and
fast.
Gomez took him out of the game, and to the point where they had to take him off, and that Foden got took off for City as well. He's affecting performances of opposition players at the moment, and I think we kind of touched on it earlier that we're not seeing our defenders getting beaten, and there isn't a lot of pace in that back line, but you don't need a lot of pace in the back line if you've got organisation, and we are really organised. We keep the shape well. If Toti's exposed, Dawson drops across. If Dawson's exposed, Kilman drops in, so that they know what they're doing. So, some of your best defenders in the world haven't had a lot of pace. If you go through the years, there's not a lot of centre-backs that were particularly quick, but the real strong, effective centre-backs were the ones who were organised, kept their shape and worked well in their system, and that's exactly what we're doing at the moment. So I thought Toti was good. He controlled Diaby really well. He's lost that kind of rash element to his game now. There was moments where you expected him just to swipe the ball and it could go absolutely anywhere. Or
that clearance at the end of the game that went to the roof of the South Bank was incredible.
Yeah, and that's what you're supposed to do with the clearance, isn't it? There's those mad moments. Well, I don't know about that, but they used to have those mad moments where you think he's going to try and break someone's leg in half on the pitch, but he just seems to have just reined it in a little bit, learnt his skills, and just started playing the simple things and doing it really well. So we talk about bargains, he's definitely eking towards that himself now.
Yeah, really pleasing for him. And I know we talk about skill and natural ability, but I know my dad's watching and he played as a defender. Defending is also a skill. Having the ability to stop somebody, to put them out of their comfort zone and stop them playing is also a skill. So in terms of his skill of stopping Phil Foden and Diaby on consecutive weeks, it's a great skill to have, and long may it continue. Well played, Toti Gomes. Moving on to the wing-backs, Tyler, starting off with Nelson Semedo, who unfortunately misses the Bournemouth game after picking up his 5th booking because he tried to deck Jack Grealish last week. Nelson Semedo.
I'm going to be harsh, but it's his fault for the goal, isn't it, ultimately? And again, it's what we've talked about for 2 or 3 years. He'd have 3 or 4 belting games, and then he can just have a rick in him and let himself down. And you don't want to be too harsh because he's been one of our better performers this season. But you just can't switch off like that. I don't even know what he's doing. He's sort of in no man's land between the centre half and Torres. He's obviously lost his man, and they've scored. Am I being too critical? I don't know. You know, the booking against Man City again, no need for it. It's going to be a big loss now at Bournemouth. After you've won a game like that, you don't need to go and get yourself booked. But, you know, I'll try and be a bit more positive. And overall, he was okay, wasn't he? He was fine.
He didn't get hurt, did he, at all, the whole game?
No, but I wouldn't necessarily expect him to with, you know, the cover we've got, like Knocker said, and the opponent he was up against. You know, Diaby's then, I think they're real danger, man, and he was over the other side of the pitch. Could he have been a bit more offensive again, maybe? But like I said, he's let himself down for the goal, and ultimately that's what matters, isn't it? At this top level,
it is harsh, Tyler, but you are correct because this is the most elite league in world football. If your defenders switch off, there's a pass and there's a goal, and that's what happened. But Nelson Semedo, by far, Wolves' first choice right back, right wing back by a million miles. So he's going to be a huge miss, and obviously we'll talk about how we're going to fill the gaps later on. But yeah, other than sort of one drop off, I thought Nelson was fantastic. Moving on to the left wing back, Ryan Ait-Nouri Knocker.
He was good till Cash body checked him and took him out of the game.
How was that not a booking?
That was naughty, by the way. That was naughty.
Yeah, that looked like intent for me. He looked like he was trying to do him, but it is what it is. He ain't booked him. Lost Cash, which forced a really good save from Sarr. But other than that, I thought he was very solid. I don't think he ever looked in real danger. He was similar to Nelson. He wasn't particularly advancing too far, which kind of makes me think that was part of our plan to maybe just make sure we stay in the game and then push in the second half. Maybe that was what we were looking to try and do. But yeah, he did well while he was on the pitch. But ultimately, the body check took him out of the game.
Yeah, you can understand in the derby. I mean, Villa, I was not expecting 5-3-2 from them. From Villa's approach, it looked like until the red card, they'd come to spoil, stop, and if they could pinch a goal. Which, considering the way they took Brighton apart the previous week, you're not really expecting that. And I'm not sure Wolves were expecting that. But moving back onto Ryan Ait-Nouri, I want to see him joining in. If you've got Toti behind you that can stop most attackers, I want to see Ait-Nouri getting a pie. That's not a criticism on Saturday because Sunday, because it wasn't particularly that kind of game. But he sees someone going forward I want to see in the opponent's box, because the way he twists and turns and glides with the football is as good as anybody at Wolves. And for him and Hwang Hee-chan to link up on that side, maybe if Hwang Hee's cutting in to open up space for him, maybe that's something we'll see at Bournemouth.
I think you're right, and I didn't mean to cut across you then, but I think you're right, because when you look at the way Villa play, we knew they were going to come at us, and I think O'Neill knew they were going to come at us. So the one thing you don't want to do is go gung-ho, leave yourself exposed, and then allow Villa in behind you and leave them spaces for them to play through, especially when you've got players like Diaby who can swap sides and come at you. So I do think O'Neill was right in what he was doing in making sure we stayed in it, and then we'll kick on second half. Okay, that didn't happen because we lost Ait-Nouri, but I don't think it was a negative from Ait-Nouri and Semedo to go forward. I think that was the game plan, hold back, and I think they were pretty disciplined in the way they did it. I do think if we'd have kept him on the pitch, we would have seen more of him from the second half as an attacking option.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see that more going forward. Tyler, moving on to João Gomes. Just before we talk about his performance, I and someone's asked this question later on, I've noticed he gets sort of taken off probably 65, 70 minutes. And I don't think because he's unfit. I think that guy puts the pedal down and goes till he's got nothing left. And hopefully that'll improve the more minutes he gets, because he's still quite a young guy and people sometimes take a little bit longer for stamina-wise. So I don't think he's not fit as he should be, as some people suggest. I just think that guy, he's a relentless presser and physical battler, and it just takes out of him. But tell me about his performance.
I think it's what we've come to expect now, isn't it, really? He's turning into sort of a nice solid 7 out of 10 every week, isn't he? I'll sound like a broken record. I'll talk about the limitations they've both got again. But again, in a game like this, it suits them, doesn't it? They like the battle they were up against, good players in McGinn and Louise, and sometimes they could have got overnumbered. I'm sorry, talking a bit about them as a pair. To be honest, I see them as a bit of a pair, Gomes and Lemina. I sort of see them as a bit of a double act. And again, they do exactly what their manager asks of them. They rat about, they win the ball back, and they try and get it into Cunha or Wang early. And it's a clear tactic now, isn't it? And he's going to be an important player, isn't he? But what's positive is, Boubacar coming on for him doesn't weaken us. And there's a bit of an argument from some people that it maybe even strengthened us on Saturday. So what a nice position to be in. That's not even talking about, Doyle, who's not had a kick yet. And Hodge is obviously way down the pecking order now. So it's nice to have some genuine options in there. But he warrants his place in the team. He's doing what the manager asks of him week in, week out now.
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned, those pair, before we go on to Mario, those pair that you say come as a pair, sit in front of that back three. That's a good 5 there that you feel comfortable with, and they all look comfortable in this system. And what's key to that is Matheus Cunha coming and collecting.
Yeah.
And he's that link man that comes and collects, and he's probably not getting as many goals and assists as he would like. But if it's his job to collect and then feed in one of the wide players or the wing backs, if Wolves are playing like the last 2 games, I don't really mind if Cunha's not scoring. I'm interested in the results, not player statistics, as long as it's not affecting the outcome. So, yeah, long may it continue. João Gomes, Mr. 7 out of 10. Noki, moving on to Mario Lemina, who will also miss the Bournemouth game. Bit of a strange one, because it's his second booking and he was already missing the game. He misses one game, but then he returns, but he stays on 4 bookings until, he's not going to stay on 4 bookings, is he? So he's suspended for them, but then after the Bournemouth game, he'll restart on 4 bookings, because apparently that's the rule after a second yellow card if you're already on 4. What a mouthful. Noki, tell me about Mario Lemina's performance.
That's a ridiculous rule, isn't it?
I don't make it, mate.
He's been booked twice in the same game, so that's 2 bookings. But I'll give up trying to figure out what our officials and ball makers are doing. So, look, you know my feelings on Mario. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think he's one of the most important pieces of the Wolves puzzle. I think he links us together in midfield. I think his interceptions are badly underrated in terms of what he offers in that area. And I know Chris has used the phrase limited. I don't see him as limited. I see him as an expert in his field. I think that's what he's there to do. He's there to win the ball, to distribute, and then to recycle, get back into position and hold that line. And that's exactly what he does. And I thought he was, in my opinion, the best player on the pitch. I really do. I think he was solid the whole game through. Other players had moments like Neto and Wang, but in terms of consistency, he was fantastic. Saying that, he managed to get himself sent off, which was a...
But sorry to jump in. Has he not taken one for the team there? Because they're gonna break. He's been sold a pup. He's been sold short. He's got to make that decision, because if he doesn't foul him and they go and score, he's really going to kick himself then.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, yes. But I also think that the Villa player's heading for the corner flag. I don't think he's heading towards goal. I don't think there is an impending danger. It's not like he's bursting through on goal and you've got to make that split second decision. I think there's cover in place. I think it is a red card.
Definitely a second yellow, yeah.
Yeah, but in saying that, you see some of the ones that weren't given over the course of the weekend, and you're thinking, well, if that's the kind of leniency you're going to offer, could you perhaps have had a little chat with him instead of sent him off? But if it's a Villa player, I'm absolutely screaming for a red card. But so then I thought he was very good. But as Chris said, we've got Boubacar, who was outstanding when he came on. Who I'm comfortable with him coming in and playing at Bournemouth.
We don't usually talk about the subs, but let's talk about Boubacar for a second and his impact. I mean, I've mentioned this a few times. I think he had the second or third best pressing stats in European football just before he joined Wolves. So that guy's clearly got an engine. When he came on, I thought he was excellent. He's a warrior like the other two, but he's a different kind of warrior because he seems to cover more ground. He's very aggressive. He gets very close. He wants to give it away quickly. He doesn't hold on to it. He's quick, find the wing back, find the centre back. He moves the ball quickly, and we keep going. I really like him, and it's an absolute no-brainer that he comes in for me next week. And then we'll talk about that later on, but I'm excited about Boubacar. I think going forward, he's got some. I like the way he's prepared. If there's 5 yards in front of him, he takes the space. He doesn't seem particularly wasteful on the ball. He's neat and tidy, but he's pressing, and the way he wins the ball back, like the Wolves' way in midfield now, when you've got your two warriors. As the season goes on, if he continues to play like that second half, I think he'd be pressing for a start. Tyler?
What?
Do you think he'd be pressing? You're not listening.
Yeah, I'm only joking. Yeah, you've said exactly what I said. I sort of joked with you. It looks like there was two of him on the pitch, didn't there, at times, because of the amount of ground he covers. He's so leggy. But I think he's got a bit on the ball as well. I think he can play a bit more than the other two. And you know what I'm like with a footballer. And me and Knocker will argue, till we're blue in the face about Lemina. But I think he's probably the one out of the three that maybe can carry it forward 10 yards and then can find that pass.
And we saw his goal last season in the Cup as well. So he's got a goal in him.
And the highlights reel. I've got, like you said, absolutely no issue with him starting over either of those two at any point of the season. But yeah, he certainly comes in now in a tough away game like a Bournemouth will be, and it's a like-for-like replacement. So yeah, I think he probably deserves a shot.
It'd be interesting to see what he does, though, because obviously we're not expecting Gomes or Lemina to carry the ball forward. But if you've got a centre midfielder there that can carry, all of a sudden then on the counter, as on the turnover, that'll make Wolves a bit of a different beast attacking wise. So that'll be really interesting to see, and I can only imagine it's him starting next week. Moving on to Pedro Neto, my dad's made a comment here as well, which is really good. He's mentioned Neto did in 2 consecutive weeks what Adama threatened to do for so many times in 5 years, beating his man and delivering. Me and my dad were talking about this earlier on. Noki, tell me about Pedro Neto's performance.
Yeah, but to be honest, I thought it was one of his quieter games actually this season.
It was, yeah.
I think he struggled to get in it. I think Villa did a little bit of a number on him. Seemed to be doubling up, keeping him a little bit quiet. But quality players like that are in the kind of form that he's in. At some point, they're going to hurt you. Similar to Watkins when he gets himself into a position. Neto's our version of that, really. And he manages to pull Torres into an uncomfortable position, isolates him one-on-one. And, they spent a lot of money on that defender and he absolutely blitzed past him like he wasn't even there.
On his weak side as well.
On his weak side. And again, it's another assist. It's Hwang popping up in the right spot. Other than that, I don't think he affected the game too much. He did a job for the team. He tracked back and he worked really hard. But that was the only real time that he was able to affect the game directly. But yeah, another 90 minutes really for him. Another opportunity to get those legs working and get that more energy back into him, and he's getting better and better every week. So he can only be positive for us as long as he stays fit.
If I'm going to have one criticism, and I might be being harsh, and please tell me if you think I am, I do think he should have hit the target when Sasa Kalajdzic put him in. Sasa Kalajdzic's pass, where has that come from? He's absolutely pinged a side foot. Absolute beauty. Whipped it across to him. Yes, he's running at pace, but I do think then you just got to you don't have to hit the ball. You have to let the ball hit you then. It's fine and just try and guide it. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh at the speed though, but I do think he should have been hitting the target from there.
I don't think you're being harsh. I think at this level, well, at any level of football, you bury that. I don't care, weaker foot, stronger foot. I think it's kind of irrelevant. If you want to make that next step into the top class level, which is where I think he's heading at the moment, that goes in the back of the net. There's no question about it. So yeah, I'd actually forgot about that. Either that or I blanked it out in my head. But he absolutely should have finished that one. That was the only real downside to his performance. But again, the positives outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, is he joint top assister in the Premier League this season now? So if we're being a bit giving some criticism, we have to a little bit because he probably should have hit the target. But what a season he's having. Again, like with Wang, I'm happy to be in humble pie because if I'm wrong and it's to Wolves' benefit, fantastic. I'll happily be wrong every week. Moving on to the man of the moment, Tyler, Hwang Hee-chan. up there, boxing round.
The coffee's just boiled, lads. So I'm just going to pop and get it.
Right place, right time. Another goal
Again.
for Wolverhampton Wanderers.
But it's more than that now, though, and it doesn't hurt me to say, but it's more that you now get
the second half. Definitely, it was.
You're getting a player of our own box and turn and spin and play. It's exactly what we thought we were signing when we were watching the highlight reel from, where we bought him from, and it's just all coming together, isn't it? Again, whether it's confidence, whether it's just form, whether he's now feeling fully fit himself. He's had a lot of injuries. But if that chance that we just talked about for Neto falls to Wang, you're banking on him taking it, aren't you? And that's where we're at the moment. He's made himself the best finisher at the club, but his all-round game is improving week on week. I think me and you argued. I thought City was his best performance. You thought Sunday was his best performance.
Yeah, second half Sunday, I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, what a nice conversation to be having where we're arguing how good Wang is. We're loving it, aren't we? But I talked about it earlier for the goal. He was brilliant. He won it back. But he didn't just win it and pass it and then go through the motions. He got himself in the box and finished it. And
bust the gut to get into position.
That's all you want from your strikers, isn't it? I mean, there's some options there, isn't there? We've got Bellegarde to come back in. All of a sudden, it looks a bit rosy. We found a way of scoring goals, haven't we, and getting numbers in the box. And the only thing I said, and again, I don't want to be harsh, is it'll be interesting when the goals dry up, because they will dry up at some point. Can he maintain that level of performance and keep contributing? That's the only question mark on him. But at the moment, he's one of the first names on the team sheet.
I mean, he's probably got 6 more goals than I thought he was going to get this season, so I'm absolutely delighted. And fair play to him. Probably not a brilliant first half, but second half, his team play, the ball recovery, the holding, the spinning, the playing, the way he linked it, I thought it was excellent. So, yeah, credit to Wang. Again, like I'm saying with Toti, like I'm saying with Neto, long may it continue. Well played, Hwang Hee-chan. Noki moving on last, but by no means least. Actually, we'll do Matt Doherty as well because he played half a game. Matheus Cunha has to come a little bit deeper, almost playing like a false 9, number 10. As Tyler said, the midfield 2 aren't going to open teams up. So Cunha comes and collects, and he played his part in the goal, linking the play as well. Yeah,
he was involved in the goal. Didn't affect the game much other than that, I don't think. He's similar to Neto. He had one really good moment. Other than that, he was working hard for the team. He was tracking back, but he didn't really affect it. You didn't see any of those kind of runs that you've seen in previous games where he's running at the back line and getting into positions to attack. But he didn't do anything wrong, but I don't think he did anything particularly outstanding. I think he was just solid. He was effective in what he needed to do to secure the midfield and attack.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it his run that got Boubacar Traore booked? Sorry, Boubacar Kamara booked early on. Did I make that up? I'm pretty sure he went on one run that he's made his runs earlier on. Yeah. And Kamara took him down. I might be wrong. Maybe someone.
I remember Kamara getting booked, but I'll be honest, I don't remember why he got booked.
Got you. But again, like I said, not his probably brightest game, but he played his part in a solid performance. And for me now, whether Wolves, regardless of they play, if he's playing in a 3-4-3, it's a false 9, number 10, and let the wide forwards get more. If Wolves move to a back 4, it's a number 10 with somebody probably needs to play in front of him. But let's see when we come to that. Matt Doherty came on at half time. Unfortunately, ran Ait-Nouri, but it's fortunately or unfortunately for Villa, he appeared to get a whack from Matt Cash. And I don't know if it was a concussion protocol, but I think he got a whack and he did knock him around a bit. But I'm not sure about Matt Doherty on his weaker side, if I'm honest. I mean,
you take this one, Tyler.
Did he really do much wrong? But equally, I'm not sure what Matt Doherty at left wing back. Tyler.
I mean, Knocker's made a comment about Terry Caravan. I think he was towing it up Mount Everest in treacle, wasn't he? I mean, I'm not just saying I can't remember seeing a Premier League footballer that slow. And I'm not, I don't want to sound harsh or nasty, but that's a concern for me. That's a severe lack of either fitness or pace, or something's just gone. Because, yeah, you're right. He kept us solid and he didn't do anything wrong. And
he nearly cost us the game though. He should have given a penalty away.
it's never a penalty for me. But I know what you're saying. But I'm sat here thinking, does Johnny start over him? That's how bad I think it's got with him. So it's a cause for concern, isn't it? I mean, just purely his lack of speed is a major concern. However,
particularly though, a wing back.
If you want to nick a goal, he's probably the guy who's going to do it, isn't he? So what do I know?
He's nailed on to score at Bournemouth now for this.
Exactly,
he's absolutely nailed. This will be clipped. We'll all look silly, and he's absolutely nailed to score at Bournemouth. And I hope
to be fair,
happens.
if he starts running now, he might make it to the penalty area by
What
a
horrible podcast! Horrible pundits.
We've hammered him, but I think he probably does play at right wing back, doesn't he? At Bournemouth, I don't. We should have enough cover there with 3 centre backs and 2 holding centre midfielders to maybe just let him play a little bit more advanced.
Moving away from the match and player analysis, Gary O'Neill now, no pre-season, 8 games in, 8 points. Wolves in 14th, 1-2, drawn 2, lost 4, -5. He's got a lot of people on side the last few weeks. There's an interesting tweet that come up, I think it was yesterday or today. According to the difficulty rankings, Wolves have had the 3rd toughest start in the Premier League this season, behind Bournemouth, Burnley, and then Wolves, with Everton, Chelsea, Man City and Palace having on paper the easy starts. So if you look at it like that, and he's having ranked the 3rd hardest start of the way the fixtures could run, Nocky, this is not a bad start now, is it, for Gary O'Neill?
You know me, Matt. I've always been a Gary O'Neill fan. Thought from day one he was the right man for the job. I was critical of O'Neill, but I also said I'll give credit and criticism in equal measure. And I think however he's got to this system, whether it's the fact that he's stumbled onto it because of injuries and suspensions, or whether he's identified as what we need to do, he's starting to get it right. He's starting to make us look organised. And as Chris rightly said, the identity's there now. Since my little bit of a rant about him, criticism, whatever you want to call it, I've tried to be a little bit more visual on him and see how he actually acts and how he performs in interviews and things like that. And he's a pretty impressive bloke, in all honesty. I think he carries himself really well. There was an interview he did on Talk Sport. I don't know if any of you have caught that, and it was very intelligent and very positive. And I'm coming around to the idea of him being there now, because I can see what he's trying to do. I was worried after the first few games because of the capitulations, because of the lack of identity and vision. But you've got to say now he's starting to look like a manager. He's starting to look like he knows what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. He's making those substitutions that are affecting the game. And I probably went a bit early on him. He didn't have a pre-season. He didn't have an opportunity to really look at the players. And, you know, we can look here and tell you that he can do this, he can do that. He's not a Wolves fan. He was sat on a beach. He doesn't know these players the way that we know these players. So he has to start from ground zero and start deciding what he's going to do, who's going to play. So I was probably jumped the gun a little bit in terms of criticising him, but now I'm kind of on board with him now. I think we've got a long way to go. I still think the ambition is around about where we are now. I think if we were offered 14th, we'd all take that. So he's not got massive targets ahead of him other than to keep us in the division. But we were asked a few weeks ago, do we think he can keep us up? I said no. I'll be honest, I'm going to change that now. I think that he...
That's the first question. The guy that asked that question, he's on tonight, so we'll save that for the questions.
Okay.
I just want to bring Tyler in as we're flying through the minutes. There's a guy called Ben that tweeted 8 points after 8 games after playing 5 of last season's top 7. That's not a bad start, is it, Tyler?
I think it's only really looking back now, we've all calmed down a bit. Probably the Palace performance and result that sort of leaves it in you. I mean, you can take losing to United, Liverpool, Brighton. Would have probably lost to Man City 9 times out of 10, but you'd pick up that win where you've lost at Palace. So I think we probably are about where we should be. You'd probably want to beat Luton. So I think if we're being greedy, we'd be sat on, 10 points now, comfortably mid-table. But 38 points, I always say, don't I get to 40, but you probably need about 20 this season to stay up. So I think if you just carry on that form of a point a game, we'll be more than comfortable to finish probably in the position we are now. So I think Knocker's right. We do have to realise that expectations are pretty low. So he's got that, on his side, and he's still got some genuine good footballers to work with. There's a couple of comments I could see that put up. The players look on board with him. Yes, they do. He's apparently got very good, mindset still of a current player. So he only left the game very recently. He's got a point to prove, which is great. So yeah, I'm with Knocker. I'm certainly glass half full now rather than half empty.
Yeah, I'm pleased for him. And as you said, you knew someone, Tyler, that knew about him within the game. He came with a high reputation, and getting those results where he's tactically outdone the best coach in the world and the best team, to follow it up with against the local derby, against the team that pumped Brighton for 6. It's a fantastic return, and I'm really pleased for him. So, and I think the fans are on board as well now. The atmosphere in the last 2 games have been good. The performances have been good, and the last 2 were averaging 2 points a game. So, yeah, fantastic. And what better game to face next up than going back to the club that sacked you because they wanted the guy instead? Now, the script stinks there because they've not won, and the old manager's going back. And if it's the old Wolves way, we all know what happens. But let's talk about that later on. Let's take a few questions. Let's go on. If I can find the questions. If it had been ahead, I should have done it. Here we go, Knocker. Just in time for you. Ryan, on episode 73, you asked Knocky and Tyler if Gary O'Neill sticks around until the end of the season, will he keep Wolves up? They both said no, and I agreed at the time. How about now, Knocky?
I feel more confident he will now. I don't know whether that's because I'm happy with where we are, or the fact that the 3 teams down there look like they've never played football in their entire lives. So that might have something to do with it. But no, as I said, credit where credit's due. I feel there's an identity. I feel that we've got a chance now. Whereas before, I was relatively convinced that we were going to be in the Championship. So I'm 70% that he'll keep us up.
Dave, thanks very much for your question. Knocky, sorry, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm sort of like 90% now. For the reasons Knocky just said, A, we look okay, and B, some sides absolutely stink in this league, and the quality down there is disgusting, if we're being honest. So if he does take us down, there's serious issues there, because there's absolutely no way these players should be, getting pulled down into that dogfight.
Absolutely. And I do think as well that we'll see a few more departures come January. I think we'll see another striker come January. So I think actually the second half of the season, Wolves will be stronger than they are now. So,
why would we need a striker when we've got King Fabio, Ryan?
Anyway, we'll move on to the next question. And this is this week's absolute stinker. Bobby Smith asks, without checking the internet, which I haven't, can any of you name the full 1980 League Cup winning team or the Sherpa Van 1998? Now, I've asked this because
I wasn't born.
Well, exactly. Some of the members of the crew weren't born for one of those games. I was 8 in the Sherpa Van 88. So
you were 15.
You absolute horror show. Absolute horror show. Now, from 1988, yeah, I've not looked this up, so I don't know. Obviously, we've got Bull and Much, Dennison. I think Kendall was in goal.
You're going to have to do better than that, sir.
Was Street playing centre-back. Ali Robertson. Was Psycho in midfield. Was Psycho Downing in midfield. After that.
You said Dennison?
I've said Robbie Dennison, yeah. And after that, yeah, I'm starting to struggle. I've got to be honest with you. But what I would say is I didn't go to my first game for 2 years after that, and I was 8 years old. So, I haven't researched. Have you got the team?
Mickey Holmes, Phil Robinson, and Gary Bellamy.
So only missed 3. Yeah, I'm quite happy with
Andy Thompson, the left, but yeah.
Oh, you missed Tomo.
Oh no, that's a bad one, isn't it? That's a bad
shock.
one. I've never forgiven him. I've never forgiven him for missing that penalty against Stoke about 25 years ago. But there we go.
It's one against Birmingham that still haunts me.
As for the 1980 League Cup, Andy Gray scored the winner and Wolves won. That's all I know. Thanks for your question, Bobby Smith. This is a good question coming up as well. Greg asks, regular contributor to the Wolves Report. Thank you, Greg. Greg asks, looking at the decision as for Lemina, Kovacic and Guimaraes over the weekend, I don't see any point to VAR and the associated rule changes. What do you lads think? It's a 2-in-1 question there from Greg, because anyone that did not watch Kovacic and Guimaraes both put bad tackles in after they'd already been booked. Neither received a second yellow card. Mario Lemina does it. For me, Mario's is definitely a second yellow card. I don't think there's any hiding from that. Kovacic's could potentially have been a straight red. That second tackle was a stinker. I don't know. We all know.
They're all the clearest second yellow card you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So the point is, why does... And if anything, if you pull a player back when they're breaking, it's a yellow card, but it's 100%. Not going to injure anybody or hurt anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Kovacic, those 2 tackles were both a disgrace.
Leg breakers, isn't there?
Yeah, that second tackle was bad, and I don't.
Whereas, same, if you're going in like that, I've genuinely got no response as to how those 2 have not been sent off. None at all. And I don't even think Gallagher does that stupid referee thing on Sky. Even he couldn't believe it. So it's
frustrating, and Wolves aren't fashionable, and I don't think they're particularly liked. And I don't really care if they're liked or fashionable, to be honest. I'm not after favours. I don't want any IOUs. I just want everyone to be treated the same. That's it. I want a consistent level, because Kovacic could have broke that guy's leg. It's at least a yellow card. Guimaraes, he's gone flying in. It's a yellow card. How they get away with it, playing for fashionable Newcastle, fashionable Chelsea, fashionable Man City. It's really, really poor. But that doesn't change the fact that Mario's was a red card. In fact, if anything, we were treated correctly. Those were treated with a bit of preference. So... as for VAR, I mean, I'm not sure we can go down this road again. I mean, I've seen some comments and they've talked about, I haven't seen it, I'm going to watch it back. They've talked about Joe Gomez handball, and I've talked about that tonight. And apparently it's very unclear. But again, you see the weekend, didn't it happen? Did it happen to Van Dijk?
Van Dijk, yeah.
Yeah, he hit his foot and he's out. But Van Dijk's hand's here, Joe Gomez's hands is up here. The inconsistency is infuriating. Greg, thanks as always for contributing to the Wolves Report. This is an interesting question that overlaps from what we said earlier on as well. Some of what I said about Joe Gomez. Kev Taylor asks, is it a concern that some of these players can't last 90 minutes and give O'Neill no choice but to keep changing the team late in games? I'll answer that one. I think some of the players that, like Lemina, particularly Joe Gomez, this isn't someone that I think that can toe down his game. This is someone that plays foot to the floor for as long as he's got it until there's nothing left. And fitness will come the more he plays. But when you play so explosive and reactive and you're battling and you're fighting for everything, even the fittest players can't surely keep that up for 90 minutes. I don't think he's unfit. I just think he absolutely gives everything. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. But the game's changed now. It's a squad game. You've got, how many subs is it? 9?
9 to pick from, 5 to use.
They're there to be used. And I fully agree with you. You want your player almost coming off with nothing left to give if you've got a like-for-like quality replacement. I do think they do seem to be getting a bit fitter week on week. I think we are seeing that. But it's not a major concern to me, because at this level you should have options, and it's not an 11-man game anymore. It's a squad game.
Absolutely. Nocky, I think this last question's for you, but be kind. Jeremy Skidmore asks, if Fabio was a horse, would you put him out to pasture? Ouch.
No, I'd probably put him in a tin of dog food, to be fair, if he was a horse.
Look, your head up, Tyler. Can't bear to watch.
I'm scared of what he's going to say.
No, look, I'm desperate for Fabio to do well, but he's weak as a kitten, isn't he? I mean, the first thing he did when he came on the pitch against Villa was got shoulder barged to the ground and lose the ball. And I don't know. I mean, he just seems more interested in making friends than he does winning football games. And my head tells me he's going to be gone in January, because I just don't think he's not showing signs of life. I mean, you see Kalajic when he came on, the first thing he does is ping an unbelievable ball into the path of Neto.
That's someone that wants he busts to get down the line and puts in a world-class ball. That's someone that wants to play for Wolves.
But I don't even think it's that, mate. I think that's the intelligence to do that. I don't think Fabio sees that pass. I think Fabio puts his head down, steams towards the corner flag, then tries to put it in the box. I don't think he's got a footballing brain. There's a player there, but I don't think you're ever going to see him at Wolves. And my suspicion is I think he'll go out on loan in January, and then I think he'll be gone after that. I think this is probably curtains for him because he's not getting any better. If anything, he's getting worse for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a player in Fabio. I'm just not sure it's going to be a player in the Premier League. What annoys me is, and if you're a nice person, you're a nice person. But if you come in on representing my football team, I don't want you high-fiving and shaking hands with the opposition in the middle of a game. You don't talk to them to the end of the game, and then you do your business. In the game, it's a battle, it's a war. They're not your mates. You're trying to skin them, score past them. You're trying to win a foul, win a free kick. You're trying to win however way possible. Fabio doesn't do that for me. He's not got that gnaw about him, and that's frustrating. I wanted him to do well. We've supported him on this show. I've really supported him. The club are giving him the number 9. He's not taking his chances, and on with Nocky. I'd be really surprised come the end of January if he's a Wolves player. I think he'll sign a year deal to protect his value if he has another good European loan. That's what I think will happen. I think he'll sign an extension because he'll want football and he'll go into Europe again. Jeremy, thanks for your question. It's a much cleaner answer than I thought Nocky was going to give. A week on Saturday, Wolves go down to the seaside to face Gary O'Neill's old team where they face Bournemouth. No wins for Bournemouth. The old manager returns. What could possibly go wrong? A good mate of mine, Jazz, asks a statement here in terms of the team selection, which I'll bring on to you. Cunha and Santi will be playing in Brazil on the 17th. Hee-chan will be in the Korea on the 17th. And Traore plays Mali on the 13th. But the 17th is in Portugal. The rest are in Europe, so okay. Already without 2 first-teamers and no time to prepare for the game. It's a big predicament. Coming all the way from the other side of the world with little time to prepare. Tyler.
Wow, we're all middle-class working fellas, aren't we? So that sort of stuff doesn't really wash with us, does it? But from a professional athlete point of view, I don't know. I personally wouldn't look too much into it. I mean, we haven't got the luxury of not playing Wang and Cunha, have we, at all? So Bellegarde comes back fresh. That's an option. Boubacar's your option. Doyle's your option. We've talked about it 2 or 3 times now. It's a squad game now. So if you are given a chance, you've got to take it. But I don't envisage too many changes. They'll be on first class private jets, flown back straight away, fully recovered and recuperated. And Bournemouth will have the same problem. Every team now has international footballers. So I
think it's a situation that highlights really our lack of real depth. When you've got players not so much for Santi because he's only had 1 game since his injury in like March, April time, but it is a reasonable impact for Wang, and that's occurring, and for Cunha as well. That's a worry. But like you say, if they're coming back, if they're hydrated, they're having all the best treatment, then they're professional footballers. That's their job. It's not very sympathetic, but we don't really have a choice like Man City did when they rest players after the break. So we don't really have a choice. The two main decisions we've got to make, though, is who comes in for Mario Lemina. I think we know the answer to that. I think we are unanimous on Boubacar coming on there, Nocky, Tyler. And then we have the wing-back situation. I don't know if a curveball will be thrown here or not, or if it'll be light for light and go for Matt Doherty. Now, he's the most natural man in that position. He's been beaten down by you two, so he's definitely going to score an overhead kick or something in off the bar because that's just the way the podcast works. But with Bellegarde available, is there anything we can do there? He's played right midfield in his previous club. Is that something we could look at, or is that too exotic?
I don't think he'll do that. I think that would be. He'll want to be solid. He won't want to give anything silly away there. So for me, I think I only see Doherty coming in. I think if there was going to be any other decision on that front, we would have seen it against Villa. So for me, I think if Doherty...
But Bellegarde was suspended, so...
Yeah, but I just don't see him doing that. I mean, we've had, you've just mentioned about some of the players that are away, but, we know they're not flying on Ryanair. They're going to come back on private jets, but they're still going to have they're still going to have a journey in their legs, aren't they? So for me, I think Bellegarde probably comes from the bench. I think he relieves one of your attacking players. I don't think you waste him in a right wing back or defensive position when you've got a player who can already play there, because you're kind of giving away an attacking option then, aren't you? So for me, I think Doherty comes in. I think Bellegarde starts from the bench. And then after sort of 60, 65 minutes, depending on how the game's going, that's when you'll start to bring off some of them players who've done the miles.
So are we all agreed then? No changes, 3-4-3 from the 2 suspensions. Then obviously the changes there. Doherty in at right wing back and Boubacar in centre midfield.
Without injuries, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will be an injury free, but that's always the concern. At least this time, Wolves haven't lost on the eve of an international break to make that 2 weeks feel a little bit longer. They've had a positive few games. Hope our players do well, but equally I hope they come back safe and return. There won't be a Wolves report next week because there's no game, so we'll join us again in roughly 2 weeks' time. We are on to predictions now, right near the end of the show. Wolves go all the way down to the south coast, Tyler, to face Bournemouth. Your first scorer and correct score, please.
Oh, sorry, I thought you'd mentioned my prediction from Sunday just gone.
What was that then, mate?
Oh, no, we don't need to talk about it now. It's fine.
What a stroppy bastard.
I can't say we're going to win because then we won't win. So I'm going to say 1-1 again. And the man from right wing back, the caravan.
So you saying 1-1 and Matt Doherty, did you say then, yeah?
Yeah.
Knocky?
Oh, I've got a little sneaky for this one.
Here we go.
That's the problem, though.
I know. I can see what's going to come. Look, they haven't won a game all season, have they? So Wolverhampton Wanderers dictates we probably get pumped 3-0. But I'm going to go 2-0 to Wolves. Matheus Cunha first goal.
Oh, you've done it, haven't you? You've absolutely done it. What have you done that for?
It might work if I do it.
I'm going to go with a 1-0 Wolves and a Hwang Hee-chan with a Neto assist, because that's just what we're doing at the moment. This has been thank you. This has been episode 75 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to prediction god and master of all predictions, Chris Tyler, and club captain Mark Knock. See you again in 2 weeks of the Wolves.